Good afternoon, folks. This is Thursday, the 28th of May, and this is kind of your midweek video update. Rom rambling here. I want to share a couple things with you today. First of all, we're still waiting on our annual conference and others to kind of give us a plan for reopening churches. More and more things continue to close for this summer. We are sure hoping to get back to worship as soon as we can, but again, we want to do it safely, and so we're having to consult all kinds of folks and have several people telling us how we're supposed to do it. And so we're trying to weigh all that as leaders each week and kind of get updated as to where we're at as counties. Dodge County actually went down in numbers and was able to start into a phase one of reopening out of three phases last week, Friday. And of course, we had Memorial Day, so we're kind of waiting to see what happens there. Fond du Lac County, which a lot of our members are in Fond du Lac County, numbers are going up because of a couple of different incidents. So we're still waiting and seeing, and won't come back together until physically until we're safe to do so and find good ways to do that. But we will continue the videos and continue updating you as best we can. One of my heroes after my heart problem several years ago and heart surgery is a guy by the name of Joe Piscatella. And Joe was one of the first heart patients many decades ago that came through heart surgery. And at that time, doctors were telling you, now don't do anything. You can't do anything. And he decided he was going to start running. And he kind of turned the whole rehab thing around for heart patients, and found out that heart patients can rebound and can do pretty much what they want to do. But he's written a little book for heart patients called Positive Mind, Healthy Heart. And I read it regularly, and it helps encourage me as far as the exercise goes and all that. But let me share with you one of his readings from just a few days ago. This is day 146. But here's what it says. If you need some encouragement today, take a look at the palm tree. In a storm, it will bend, sometimes all the way to the ground, but it will not break. When the storm is over, it straightens up again. It's the picture of resiliency. Joe is also a Christian, so he always adds a little footnote in here, and his footnote for this day says, think of the horrors that people are able to survive. We are made to bend without breaking too. God promises to give us, and he quotes from Colossians 1:11, strength that endures the unendurable and spills over into joy. A few days ago, I was looking at Facebook, and a lot of interesting things, of course, on Facebook these days. But one of them that caught my attention, and maybe many of you saw this, I'm hoping you did. But it was kind of an issue on perspective, a little article on perspective. And it was, what if you were born in 1900? And I started thinking about my maternal grandmother, who was born in the late 1800s, and this could have been her. It was a good description of her. And here's what it says. Let me just share this with you. For a small amount of perspective and kind of talking about what we're going through today, imagine you were born in 1900. When you are 14, World War I starts and ends on your 18th birthday with 22 million people killed. Later in the year, later that same year that World War I ended, a Spanish flu epidemic hits the planet and runs until you are 20. 50 million people die from it in 2 years. Yes, 50 million. When you're 29, the Great Depression begins. Unemployment hits 25%. Global GDP drops 27%. And that runs until you are 33. The country nearly collapses along with the world economy. When you turn 39, World War II starts. You aren't even over the hill yet. When you're 41, the United States is fully pulled into World War II. Between your 39th and 45th birthdays, 75 million people perish in the war, and the Holocaust kills 6 million. At 50 years old, the Korean War starts. and 5 million perish. At 55 years old, the Vietnam War begins, and it doesn't end for 20 years. 4 million people die in this conflict. Approaching your 62nd birthday, which I am right now, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tipping point in the Cold War. Life on our planet as we know it could well have ended. Great leaders prevented that from happening. As you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. Think of everyone on the planet born in 1900. How do you survive all that? How do you get through that? Some of us think we have it pretty tough right now and that having to do things a little differently is, well, it's not convenient, but it's not nearly what some others have been through. And then the article said this, just happened to mention this on the topic of perspective. A kid in 1985 didn't think their 85-year-old grandparent understood how hard school was. Yet those grandparents and now great-grandparents survived through everything listed above. Perspective is an amazing art. And I share that with you today just for a little perspective. I know some of us are having a rough time. We're getting very impatient with how things are going and how we think things should go. And just because some politicians have said the state is opened up, is it safe to do that? According to the medical people, it is not. And church happens to be one of the highest risk events that you can do as far as attending a church gathering. And so we're taking our time. We're looking at it every single week. We're doing our best. We want to get back together as soon as we possibly can. Until that time, we will keep doing the harder thing, and that is the video worship and the videos that we're doing throughout the week. But let me close today with the scripture from Colossians 1 that Joe Piscatella started with earlier. But I want to share this with you, and we'll kind of let this be our closing prayer today. Paul says this to the church at Colossae, talking about their work in the church, the important work they do, which is work we do here too. He said, we'll pray that you'll have the strength to stick it out over the long haul. Not the grim strength of gritting your teeth, but the glory strength that God gives. It is strength that endures the unendurable and spills over into joy. Thanking the Father who makes us strong enough to take part in everything bright and beautiful that He has for us. And that is my prayer today, too, that God will continue to give us strength as we go through this time of the pandemic, and that God will strengthen us and fill us with love and joy for one another and for our neighbors. This time has certainly seemed to bring out the worst in some people. Don't let that be us. Let us be the loving presence that we need to be to represent Christ in our neighborhoods and our communities, wherever we are. Love you all, care for you, and hope to see many of you soon. Please take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.